You know this car, it starts in silence, no matter what you do. Even if you were to say, I'm putting it on power mode, which is one of the driving modes, when you start it again, it's going to start in hybrid mode. That means it's going to start in silence. You can hear right now that it's so silent. In fact, you can even hear the sound of the suspension adjusting because it has the air suspension, and when it's parked it's lowering itself. Then when you start driving, it's taking it back up a bit so that you can have some bit of ground clearance. So this is the second part of the XC60 supercharged, turbocharged, 340 kilowatts, 790 newton meters of torque coming out of a 2-liter hybrid powertrain. Look, this thing, yeah, it's so quick, and I'll show you at some point in the video. But hey, tonight we're here to see the lights and everything else around that. Otherwise, welcome to the channel. It's Sibo, and I appreciate that you're here with me tonight. Look, I honestly love the lights. I'm going to start with the exterior lights on this car because I love them. Look, I don't think they're the best when it comes to how far can they project, but when it comes to the responsiveness, because they do have this matrix thing. I know that for Volvo, they're just calling them like full LED, I think. And you know, other brands like Mercedes will call them digital lights. And then Audi, VW, they call it matrix, and so on and so on. So we've tested this before. But I think for me, when it comes to how they respond, how they project, you know, this search and seizure that they do with darkness spots, the way it behaves, and the way I find it when I'm driving it at night, and not a lot of people are flashing. In fact, I don't even remember anyone flashing that I'm actually dazzling them in any way. So that's a good sign of a good function when it comes to this technology, because sometimes I've heard, like, for example, when it comes to matrix in Audi, probably the best in projection in my view, but some people are complaining that in the last 2 or second, whatever that may be, before you pass the car, it starts projecting again, and it might dazzle the car that is just passing, because 1 second, 3 seconds matters, let me say that, when you're driving. But in here, I haven't experienced that, and you can see that they're doing a great job. I think for me, in terms of responsiveness, in terms of searching and so on, searching for dark spots, even when you're turning the steering wheel, like now, you see it turns with you when you turn into the left, then it turns back when you turn to the right. I like that because it can curve as well. When you get to the curve as well, it can actually do that curvy thing. Otherwise, been talking about lights for some time. Look, guys, when it comes to this car, I think generally, besides the exterior lights, I do like what they've done with the interior lights as well, because everything else is LED. On the ceiling lights, it's LEDs. One thing probably that I'd say, yeah, maybe they should have added is the ambient lighting in terms of the colors and so on, maybe embedded in the dashboard and some of the, what is this thing, the door handles and so on. So I think that way maybe it was going to be more pronounced at night, you know, bring that element of mood lighting thing that happens when you're inside cars like your Mercedes and so on. But hey, they don't have it in here, and I think probably because this guy is dated for interior, because this car was, I think, first came out in 2017, and you can see that the interior hasn't changed much. But I think in terms of the ambience of the lights, they've done well, because they use this white illumination on the buttons and so on. So it's always the best for me, followed by ice blue that normally is used by Ford, as I've indicated before. And when you're looking at the ceiling lights as well, they do have these covers on the lights in terms of where you need to touch and so on. So I think that adds a little bit of mood lighting, and they do project as well on the footwell inside in the interior. As much as they look a little bit yellow, I think those are light bulbs in the footwells. In the rear, also in front in here right now, you will get that lighting as well. Then in the boot as well, you do get like those LED lights just at the bottom as well. Then when you go to the rear as well, you know, Volvo distinctive lights. Everyone, when they see these lights, they always say it's Volvo lights. I think Mahindra has done lights that are almost similar to these ones, and people are like, nah, that looks like a Volvo. So it looks like the signature lights in the rear. We're used to it by Volvo, so yeah, I'll take it as Volvos. Otherwise, I think from the perspective of driving the car itself, I can't really complain much, especially at night, because as I've already indicated, the vision outside is quite alright as well. I think probably maybe the mirrors, that's one thing that I can say, yeah, you know, because they're dimmed. you know, they have that auto dimming that they do outside and inside. And sometimes if you're not used to it happening outside, because a lot of cars are only doing it on the inside, you think the car is a little bit far, but once you get used to it and driving it every day, it doesn't necessarily give you any issues whatsoever. Yep. And you also get like the blind spot monitoring, so it can help when it comes to changing lanes and so on. Even at night, it does respond quite well, because this one as well, it's featured with driver assistant package, which means you can do like your typical, what is this thing now, adaptive cruise control, and it can also even manage itself in driving when it comes to that, so that if a car in front of you stops, it can stop, because others, they don't necessarily stop all the way to zero. I think others are limited to 20 kilometers per hour, so just be aware of that when you have these driver assistant systems. But otherwise, this one of the best things that I like, of course, it's fitted with the Wilkins 15 speaker 1410 watts sound system. And hey, this thing is a banger. I think for me, in this segment, especially at around this price point of 1 million to 1.5 million, somewhere there, because this is spec to 1.5 million. It starts at around 1.3 million, but spec to 1.5. And I think from that perspective, having tested some of the cars in this segment as well, having tested the sound systems as well, I think this is the one. This is the one. I'll play it at some point for you, of course, and you will hear it, because you know this is a night video. I'm not going to talk forever. At some point, we're going to have to do the silent drive, and you will experience the car as it is. Otherwise, like I said, it's powered by a 2-liter petrol electric motor, of course, in this case, because it's a hybrid. You can charge it as well because it's a plug-in hybrid. If you want more details on that, of course, go to the main review. I did speak about this as well. And when it comes to the drive as well, wow. Hey, guys, this thing is punchy. This thing is punchy. Like, look, this engine is amazing. It's punchy. Right now, I actually don't have any battery in here. It's like 0 kilometers that I can use on battery, but it punches from 0 to 100 in 5 seconds, and it's something else. You'll just see it when I'm driving it, and you'll see how it drives as well, because once you put it on power, which is one of the driving modes that you find in here, because it starts on hybrid, then you get power which is only operating on the engine, and then you get pure, which is pure electric. You can do, I think, 50 kilometers in real life, but Volvo says you can do 80 if you are conservative about it. And then you get constant all-wheel drive and off-road mode as well. So those are the power modes. What am I saying, power? Those are the drive modes that you find. But what I'm going to show you, of course, is how it performs on power mode, which is something that I'm going to do on the other end of this video, where I'm going to be silent, of course, and make sure that you experience the car for what it is, see the lights and everything else. So without further ado, I'm not going to do much, because you know I'm going to do the drive silent one, including the sound system test. You're going to have that as well, and we'll take it from there in the comments. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight. Really hope you enjoy the rest of the video. I really appreciate it, and I am out.